Welcome to Zooming to Webinar Success. Your host is Grant Holmes, and his clients call him the Webinar Guy. Grant is a busy virtual meeting manager and on-screen host with a team of professionals ready to help you plan and produce your next virtual event. Learn tips and tricks to having successful virtual meetings from step one. And now, here's your host, Grant Holmes, the Webinar Guy.
Hey, I'm Grant. My clients call me the Webinar Guy. Welcome to episode 33 of Zooming to Webinar Success. And today we're going to talk about the power of a series of webinars and virtual meetings. Remember, you can always catch up on all the episodes at thewebinarguy.com. Well, it was 1926. A company was trying to figure out how to increase sales, something we're all doing most every day. The company's sales manager, Allan Odell, came up with arguably one of the best and possibly most memorable marketing ideas of the era. He was inspired by a string of signs leading to a service station in Illinois, each sign promoting a product or service available at the station. Well, a tweak here and a tweak there, and the Burma Sign series was born. And almost immediately, the company saw a spike in sales. Well, if you're not familiar with the Burma Shave signs, do a quick search. Well, a quick recap. They were one-line signs, in other words, one-sentence signs, in a series of signs. Then they were often found on fence posts along the road. Remember, 1926, this was before the advent of the interstate highway system, and back roads kept speeds down quite a bit. They were perfect for the time and conditions. Now, there were usually 4 or 5 signs about 100 feet apart or so. Eventually, more than 7,500 sets were in 45 states. And while they most often were about shaving, they also did some funny signs and even public service signs that had nothing to do with shaving. But in keeping the style and brand common, you knew where they were from. There's many lessons to be learned here, but first a quick word from our sponsor. Yes, I'm the the webcast and podcast sponsor. Thewebinarguy.com. Yeah, that's me. And when you decide to plan your webinar and are looking for marketing ideas, not clear speech, I can do that too. Anyhow, if you're looking for clear marketing ideas, we have many resources and would love to help you. Email me, webinarpro@thewebinarguy.com, or visit our website, thewebinarguy.com, and use the contact form. I'd love to work with you, so would our team. Thanks for listening to my commercial. Well, stories like the Burma Shave signs are fun, but there's some serious marketing stuff going on there. Now, let's go back to the title of this episode, The Power of a Series of Webinars and Virtual Meetings. Well, I'd like to hope that I'm demonstrating this concept with this series of episodes on Zooming to Webinar Success. Let's look at the lessons. Lesson 1. The signs were cohesive. They all pointed to the same goal, brand, and purpose. Lesson 2. The signs were memorable. Each sign made you want to get to the next one and read that. Well, related to that is how they also encouraged people to talk about them, almost like Super Bowl ads. Imagine them being discussed at work. Hey, did you see the new Burma sign series out on Route 44? Lesson 4. They were fun, especially some of the funny ones. I'm sure families traveling talked about those signs for miles. They were long enough to create interest, but short enough not to bore. They created desire. You were hoping to see another series and see what they'd come up with. Lesson 7. No matter the content, like Golden Arches, it built brand awareness. Every sign had the same look and feel. Lesson 8. The messages were perfect for that time period and the conditions. Lesson 9. Targeting. Now, while they were really targeted to males that shaved, everyone enjoyed them. And think of it this way. When Jane told Sheila about the sign she'd seen, there was a subliminal message. I'm betting that Sheila told her husband Mike at dinner that night, and well, that's pretty good marketing. Lesson 10, they're still talked about and used as a great example on how to create marketing now nearly 100 years later. And while I hope these Zooming to Webinar Success episodes are still around in 100 years, I'd just really be happy if a few of you told someone else about our services. So let's go back and look at the lessons. They were cohesive, to the point, always on brand message. The signs were memorable. They encouraged conversation. They were fun, long enough to create interest, but short enough not to bore. They created desire. They built brand awareness. The messages were perfect for the time period and conditions. They were targeted. And man, talk about longevity. They're still talked about as a great example on how to create marketing. Excuse me. So now think of your next webinar, your next virtual summit or virtual meeting. How many of those things can you capture in marketing your event? How many can you capture during your event? There are so many ways to engage your audience and create memorable content. I'd love to hear your ideas. So back to the title, the power of a series of webinars and virtual meetings. Now take all that I've talked about before and string together content that makes people want to come back for more. Don't give it all away at once. Make them want to come back. You may wish to use a sequential series that for number 2 to make sense, someone has to be in on number 1. Or like this series, it really doesn't matter which one you watch first. They are all relevant to Zooming to Webinar Success. This series is for smaller organizations and solopreneurs that may not be tech savvy. They don't know all the steps. Maybe they don't want to know all the steps. And over this series, I'm going to lead you to all the significant decisions and capabilities you'll need to consider when you want to Zoom to Webinar Success. So if you have a subject you'd like me to cover, please subscribe and then drop me a note or comment. And as always, if you need help now, don't hesitate to reach out. webinarpro@thewebinarguy.com. Thanks for watching. Would love to hear your questions and comments, and don't forget to tell a friend or two. And if you're listening to the podcast audio, thanks for listening.